Welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. I'm Daniel Dawson, and I'm joined by my friends and fellow rebel scum, Alyssa Simmons.
Hello.
And Dino Nicandros.
Hello.
I have friends everywhere.
You're a liar. Wish you weren't a liar.
Today, we are discussing the last 6 episodes of Andor. Was this the best Star Wars ever? Do we as Star Wars fans even deserve this level of Star Wars? Let's discuss. And by God, we're Star Wars fans.
I don't know who you are or where you came from.
I am Iron.
I thought they smelled bad. On the outside.
Smells like a new car in here.
Inside the Tauntaun, this is our opening song. Alyssa, Daniel, Dino, talking nerd stuff, come along. Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.
Do we? Do we deserve? Did
No.
we deserve
I
this?
don't think we deserved it, but we got it.
But we got it. We got it, and we really
Good
got it
God.
hard.
That was
Yeah, so general thought.
I hate that we've had to group these two together because
I
you
know.
could do several hours on both of them. But
Yeah. I was on vacation. Sorry, everybody.
Yes, and we were adulting. But my general thoughts is our silence, and I will just sprinkle it in as we go because I think it's fairly obvious how I feel about this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about you, Alyssa?
Remember
wanna
when
stay silent?
That's the whole episode is none of us talking.
Yeah.
Really
For
good podcast.
2 hours.
Remember how I bore my testimony about the Ahsoka series
Yes.
and that it was my favorite Star Wars that had ever been made?
Sure.
Yes.
I'm changing my answer.
Oh!
It is now this season.
It's now
Andor.
episode 1 of
It's now episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Boba Fett.
It is the Boba Fett theme song. That's my favorite Star Wars.
Boba Fett!
Yeah, it's this season of Andor. It really it did a lot of things to me, and I'll leave it at that.
Well,
Daniel?
I would like to disagree, I think. No, just kidding. This was incredible. I wasn't expecting, I mean, I guess, I don't know what I was expecting, but specifically the last 3 episodes of the show, like, because, they kind of like marketed, because I think the first season we kind of assumed that it was like 3 episode chunks that were like these big films. But never has it ever been more like obvious than this last 3 episodes. It felt like we were actually watching another Andor film. And it was, oh man, it was so good. Yeah, that's my general thought. We got a bunch of really, really good films.
Yes.
Yeah.
4, in fact.
Yeah. Like
each 3 episode chunk. Like
it is.
It did. It felt like 4 movies.
Zero offense to, like TV making. But, a lot of times there is like another caliber that comes with filmmaking, and you put this up on a, like, I know that they were, I get, maybe it was just a rumor or something, but I had heard that they were, I mean, I don't no. What was not the rumor is that apparently they when they edited the sound, they edited it so that it could be put out in theaters if that were ever the thing. But then they didn't, and I really wish
Not
that they
yet.
did.
Well,
Not
maybe they
yet,
will.
I guess.
Maybe
Yeah.
they will.
Because I would have easily paid, the $25 IMAX fee to go see those last 3 episodes.
Yeah, I think that the
wouldn't
rumor
have.
was on the anniversary of on the 10-year anniversary of Rogue One.
So next
Oh, I
year-
thought you meant
yeah.
like of Andor. We're like, we're gonna have to wait for that.
No, of Rogue One, which is we're coming up on it, I think.
Yeah,
right?
That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
and
next
actually,
year.
Yeah.
It does kind of make sense, though. I mean, not he doesn't look old by any means, but like because after the show is over, like the first thing that Disney Plus recommends is the
Rogue
movie
One.
Andor, and I'm like Rogue One.
And Diego
And-
Luna looks
Yeah, he
10
looks like
years
a
younger.
baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a little baby. Yeah, sorry, that was a
wow.
long general, but
Yeah.
there it was.
You can't do that anymore. We have too much to discuss.
We have too much to talk
Daniel.
about. We have too much. We have too much.
Well,
Well, lead us, guide us, Dino.
How are we gonna do this, Dino?
so it is structured in such a way that you are able to digest this show in chunks, which is actually really helpful. But
Yeah.
So when last we left everybody, we are watching Gorman about to pop off, and
Mhm.
Cassian at the start of the third arc is given the assignment, and it's as much a personal one as a rebellion one, to
Sure.
kill Deidre Miro. So he goes to Gorman as a reporter, and really the imagery, I think, of Gorman, and you guys have touched on it already a bit. I'm just going to add my 2 cents since I wasn't here last time.
Do it.
Never has Star Wars felt more akin to 1940s Europe than
Yep.
than Andor has made it. And
Yeah.
Yeah, particularly with the the French inspired gore.
yeah, the
dialect.
French-German hybrid.
Yeah.
I was gonna also add, though. I mean, it's never has it also been. We've seen a lot of Nazi Germany connections. I want to say that this is the first time that I ever felt like they could have broken into like, "Do you hear the people sing?" It was like very Les Mis vibes. Like we had the barricade, we had the flags, we had the singing. They were actually
they were singing their national anthem.
I mean,
yeah.
It could have been Tiananmen Square. It could have been.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
you pick
Yeah.
pick your
anything.
Pick your
totally.
revolution.
Yeah, right.
And the tension building. Stormtroopers have never looked scarier.
Oh my god.
Mhm.
I think context for all of these iconic pieces of Star Wars lore, just switching up the context slightly, or the framing, or even the lighting, or the music, or lack thereof, it does
From a different point of view.
crazy things. And the Empire here looks really, really scary. And
Yeah. They're willing to really do nasty things.
yes, and
not even to themselves. Like they're
that's a big theme of these last two arcs, is
like how like desperate they're willing to like desperate lengths. It's crazy to me. I mean, it makes sense though.
Yeah.
but we quickly catch on that the idea here, well, it goes back to the last arc, but the idea here is to incite violence, and
Right.
it's Deidre's thought that you need
justify.
rebels, right? You need rebels that you can count on to do the wrong thing, is what she had said to
Right.
Krennic. And on the rebellion side, which I loved that we continue to see how fractured rebellion is, and
It's messy.
Well, and
You
all the different sections of it not agreeing with how things are being run, and
Right.
yeah, it's just
Like just even on Gorman, they're
Yeah.
all they're feeling different vibes. Although they kind of seem to be relatively united, like up until the very end.
well, you have the head of the patriarch of this rebellion movement on Gorman,
Right.
Caro Rylands. He thinks there's a.
It's amazing you remembered that name. I
have it written.
He has
down.
it written.
Oh,
There's
thank God!
no
Thank
way.
God.
I have my outline.
Yeah. I would have called him like Jean Valjean or something like that.
But he has it in his mind that there's still a diplomatic way out of this, or something that falls short of bloodshed, and
Right.
his daughter and pretty much everyone else is of the opinion that
We
now's
gotta act.
and he knows he's actually the smart one in the room. He knows
Yeah.
that they're trying to provoke this.
Yeah. Unfortunately, by that point,
It's
by the time he
so-
figures
it's
this out,
too
it's way
late.
too late.
Too
yeah.
late. Yeah.
Yes.
Gosh.
They invite them into this memorial square which is the site of another massacre at the hands of Grand Moff
Moff
Tarkin
Tarkin.
some years before, where he literally lands a shuttle on top of 500
500 people, yeah.
You may land when ready.
Yeah, right. So to kind of watch this inevitably happen, and it's kind of feels like
We
a
all know
runaway
what's gonna
train.
happen.
It's
Yeah.
really, really hopeless.
Ugh. And the music is sort of like slowly ramping up to that too.
Yeah.
It's just like it's very it felt relentless.
Yes. And the haunting nature of this national anthem that they've built for them. That sounds it sounds, like revolutionary France, and
Yep.
or even Les Mis, as you said, Daniel. And
Right. I mean, even Eponine dies in this episode.
Yeah,
I
right,
mean, truly,
right.
Yeah.
yeah,
Sure
and
does.
it's like Gavroche getting thrown by a KX droid. I mean,
yeah, really, like, yes, a much more terrifying Les Mis. Yep.
and during this, I just love seeing these big set pieces from so many different perspectives, and I think that's what Andor has done so well since the very beginning, is taking a singular event and having so many points of view on it.
Yeah.
And let's say from Deidre's standpoint,
Mhm.
she's kind of, I wouldn't say skeptical from the beginning, but she thinks the Empire is being stupid in how it's engaging the rebellion, and that goes back
Right.
to season 1
Yeah.
of.
Although I feel like never has. I think that this is the most that she's ever felt the foot of the Empire on her neck.
Well, right,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and there's a grappling with decision making here. She has an officer that's technically by rank underneath her, but
Right.
he gets operational control. So
yeah, she
she's
called
kinda-
himself he's the trigger, and she's
Right.
the whatever, the finger or something. I don't know.
and she's kind of wrestling with her ego here as much as anything. And then
Well, even Radagast, is that his name?
Radagast?
Radagast the Brown,
You did this
Partagast.
last week too,
I did this
Daniel.
last time too. What the fuck? What's his name?
Leo Partagast.
Partagast, right? Yes. He like keeps on like it happens at least 2 times, maybe 3 times, where he's just like he's kind of not mansplaining, but just being like, I see you're very emotional, calm down, or something like that, which is such a weird power
Well, yeah,
play.
I mean, she's already the Gorman assignment is already a timeout for her, and,
Right.
And Partagast makes that pretty clear. It's like, if you want to get back into the circle, don't f this up.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
exactly
this
what
is-
they
this
tell you
is
to
the
do.
moment. You gotta be
This
good.
is- and it means more than you think it means. So
Right.
Mhm.
So that's her perspective, and then you have Cyril, who
Oh, man.
this
Oh my
episode,
gosh.
that strange,
Man,
wonderfully layered character
I
comes-
fucking love Cyril.
comes to a head, and he
Shot in the head, you mean?
well, true. We've already seen doubt in his mind. He's discovering that Deidre hasn't been honest about the nature of the Empire's activity on Gorman, and as he
Yeah.
starts to piece it together, he realizes the machine that he's been serving for all this time in the name of law and order
Right.
is in fact way overstepping that mandate, and he
Mhm.
feels used and gets physical, and a very
Right.
uncomfortable, very surprising scene with
Mhm.
with Deidre, and leaves her.
I was not expecting that.
Now, in the last 2 episodes we talked about, I
We
said
thought he was going to turn in some way.
Yeah,
This
I
was
was
not.
like, that was my wild theory. I mean,
Well,
he
it
didn't,
wasn't
we didn't.
wild though. I mean, it was a
It did
very
feel
good
very
prediction.
plotted out. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we could see the wheels turning. We saw him go from A to B, which is so refreshing that it didn't feel like a complete surprise. Like it wasn't like what we got in fucking
Game
the
of
Rise
Thrones.
of Skywalker.
Or Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
With
he's like, I'm the
Hux.
spy,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
okay. It was
Well,
funny.
no,
but...
I mean, this was another example of the Empire kind of stepping on its own toes, and
Right.
he didn't like the Empire coming into his office and
He's like,
telling him how to do things. And
I do not like this. Well, and
Yeah.
also like getting in between him and his girl, you know, like that it created a rift between their relationship, and so yeah, I'm curious. It's sad that he died, because the potential of where his character might have gone after that. You know, of course, I think he was doomed to die from the very beginning, but yeah, I'm curious whether or not he would have fully turned, or he would have been this weird gray area where he still believes in the Empire, but just not the way that they're doing it, kind of thing.
well,
you know?
it's so interesting since we're kind of jumping to that moment.
Yeah.
So as he's watching this massacre unfold, which again is prompted by an Imperial sniper shooting one of his own to kick this off.
Yeah.
And he's watching. It's really a beautiful metaphor in the image of him watching the world collapse around him.
Yeah.
And then he spots Andor.
Mhm.
Oh, right.
And all of a sudden, he gets this insane tunnel vision of
Rage.
you are literally the reason my life is where it is now.
Totally.
I was a well thought of up and coming officer on Ferrix. I had a life, like everything was fine. And
I mean, my mother was a little intense, but other than that,
but even before he had to go groveling back to Coruscant, it's entirely Andor's fault. So for a moment, all of this exterior stuff fades away, and you just see him unleash. And there's this just anger that all his entire life has been a lie. And,
poor
that he's
guy.
been used. And the the cinematography in this particular episode was unbelievable.
man.
But this scene, the choreography, how violent and visceral, and
It looked dangerous, like it hurt.
it looked dangerous. There's that one particular shot where they're up against the window and the thermal detonator goes off and the camera kind of spins, and but then we get to that moment that you spoke of, Daniel, where he's got a gun trained on Cassian, and Cassian asks him, Who are you?
Yeah, oh my god, and fucking sad. Like, it just couldn't get more sad.
No.
Yeah, it was like,
No, that was like the final tragic beat of his existence.
and what a statement on serving an authoritarian machine. It's like, you are nothing.
You're literally nothing. And yeah, like it's so crazy that you've spent like the last, what was it, 4 years of his life, like really
5,
you know, drinking up nothing but, well, I mean, not just nothing, but you know, it's just really focusing a lot on
being a
this
shameless
guy.
social climber, like, and
That and just having such a tragic thing.
being solely focused on this one man, and he has no idea who you are. You're just you were just a passing face and inconsequential one.
It's not the same, but it kind of gives the vibes of I don't know why, but I was thinking of is it Hinckley? Is he the one who loved Jodie Foster, and you know?
Oh, yeah, I think that's his last name.
I don't know, but just
The
was
one
like
who
super
wanted to kill Reagan because to
Right,
prove his love to
yeah.
Jodie Foster.
right.
Yeah.
But like Jodie Foster has no idea who he is. He's like,
No.
who are you?
So that to close off Cyril's arc, I thought that was so
I felt
tragic.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
The moment, I mean, I've felt bad for him several times this season, but
Mm-hmm.
that final encounter with Dedra, where he just said, "How long? How long have you known?"
Yeah.
And
I
she
thought we were in love.
Oh,
And
But she's just her own little ladder climber that she didn't give a
she
shit.
is, but then you get this moment with her as she's watching what's happening, and she kind of retreats to her annex and has a full on panic attack.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is going on here? This monster, she's in on it. I don't care what reservations she has. She's very much in on it, but she's
Right.
coming unglued. And
She got feelings.
And I love that Tony Gilroy, and he does this better than anyone I've seen in recent memory, make an audience just uncomfortable watching this stuff, because it's obvious how we're supposed to feel about it, but
Right.
then you frame her existence that way, and you go,
wait, this is so much more complex.
What do I do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable all around.
And we talked about this a bit, like with the rebels. If you go back to the rebels fighting on Yavin, it's like, God, these morons are the rebellion. Like, this is we're screwed.
Man.
Like, it's I just appreciate how I don't know how textured everything is, and
Layers. Yes. The Empire has layers.
So this episode in particular just did not relent as far as just seeing the anxiety, and
never lets you breathe. This one in particular, like if we're just talking about what is it, 4, 5, and 6? No, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, what? Yeah, 7, 8, 9.
7, 8, 9. Yeah.
Particularly the Gorman Massacre, which I think is episode 8.
Yes,
was just the most devastating. I got the biggest chills from that episode. Heavy.
Yep.
Yeah, and then things start to get really bad. I referenced it. You have the KX droids are
terrifying.
The Terminator parallels. I mean, just frightening.
Talk about relentless, like an unstoppable force, like seemingly, at least to these, like, mere humans, with these fleshy sacks being thrown around.
Picking up and throwing into walls and just
Yeesh.
kicking, and that it was so
violent and scary. I think it becomes more scary when it's. So I think in the past when we've seen these droids like kicking ass, it's usually like soldiers that are being hit, but this was like a lot of
civilians,
civilians.
Yeah,
and that it's like, it just makes it so spooky.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this is how we come to form the relationship that will go on to be Cassian and K2SO.
K2SO.
But which is very fun.
But it's the final moments of the massacre where he's driving the transport away from the scene, and he's listening over the radio, and you hear these desperate calls, like they're wiping us out. They are, and tears are streaming down his face, and you have all of these shots of the various rebels, including Caro, and he's just what a performance that was.
Oh yeah.
Just laying there in utter ruin. I was not well after that episode, to be honest.
I had to take a few minutes and reset before continuing on to the next.
That was another thing too, is that I had just come home from vacation, so I had seen it kind of like late, but also like late. I got home late at night, and I was just like, I have to watch it right now. So I was literally up until about 3:30 in the morning watching all 3 of them.
Oh
and I was blown away by, and I had just gotten off this plane ride all the way from the other side of the world, so I figured I would have fallen asleep, but I was so jazzed. I watched all 3 so fast.
Yeah,
man. Yeah. Riveting television.
I wanted to save this point because obviously Cassian is the heart of this show. I thought
Right.
episode 7,
Mm-hmm.
near the end of episode 7, he has an encounter with a force healer on
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That actor.
on
Are you
Yavin, and
Our first, like, I think
interaction
right?
with the force in this series.
Yeah. Well, or oh no, they did have it in in Rogue One too. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm one with the Force. The Force is
Yes,
one with me, or
yes.
whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Chewit,
Yes.
Chirrut Inwit. But to see the force depicted in this manner, where it's not so explicit,
Mhm.
this woman is getting vague images of seemingly Cassian's future, and she calls him. Well, she tells Bix, he's a messenger. I see him as
Yeah.
a messenger, and I'm sitting here going, I think this woman, she doesn't know how and she doesn't know when, but
She knows her fate.
That's literally what Cassian becomes.
Right.
He literally
He's
becomes.
just passing information.
But if you think about where he ends in Rogue One, it is passing the plans off to the rebellion, and
Right.
that is where his end.
Yeah,
That
that's
that
what
is his ultimate function.
his destiny. Yeah.
Mhm.
I had like full on
Goosebumpies.
Star Wars goosebumps akin
Ooh, I'm
to
getting it
when
again. Yeah.
akin to when like Obi-Wan explains the Force to Luke, or
Mhm.
Yoda explains it to Luke, and it's one of those Star Wars moments that you just
Like,
it's like, wow,
ooh.
that's what it's about. Like it's just this
Yeah.
mystery of,
Mhm.
and it's kind of vague, and you have to use your imagination a little bit. But
yeah, your brain fills in the blanks how you however you like it to.
Also, like with that moment, just a little more skin deep. I think I appreciate the way that Tony Gilroy. I think I don't know if this was something he was trying to do, but I think made force healing a little more casual. You know.
yeah.
So it's not as like a wah, because
But-
like as it was for
Well,
us
and-
when we
and-
first learned about it in
yeah.
like The Rise of Skywalker. Like, oh, that's a thing.
Right.
You
Well,
could
with
do that?
Andor's like, obvious like Cassian's like that's I
Very
don't
dismissive. It's
Yeah.
skeptical and
It's
just like
a bunch
I don't
of
want to deal
BS.
with that. And his mom didn't like them getting that little piece of information from Bex
Yeah.
that like, okay, your mom had a bad experience with one person. That doesn't mean that it's all a sham. Like
Right.
it felt very much so like, anything sort of like spiritual nowadays where it's like, okay, you might have had a bad experience with that, but that doesn't mean that like the whole entire population of that is bad.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that actor too was just
Oh, she was excellent.
so
and-
magical.
They I mean, interestingly enough, like I think she did do like at least some kind of healing, because it kind of, I think we sort of alluded to the fact where he was like moving his shoulder. He's like, oh wait, that feels a little bit better. He doesn't say that, but it kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't want to admit it to her.
Yeah.
to Bex.
But it kind of feels like she also did like a little spiritual healing too.
And
kind of-
Bix, if not a full believer, is very curious and
Force curious.
yeah, and and that message, what the healer tells Bix, I think ends up being the catalyst for
The reason.
for the
For her
decision
decision.
Bix goes on
Agreed.
to make.
Yeah.
There are things bigger here, and again, you can't explain it, but there's just the wheels of inevitability,
The wheels of a dream.
if you like.
If you will.
if you like.
I do like.
Did either of you think that was how she was no longer going to be in his life? Like, did you think that was
Oh, that would be the ultimate end.
Yeah.
No.
No, I thought that we all thought that. I mean, we all
I
said it. It was
thought-
like, oh, she gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
I
were
thought
like,
she was
that
gonna-
bitch is gonna die.
They're not sparing anybody.
Yeah.
I think that my first initial thought, because like her journey has been a very fascinating one too.
Mhm.
And what I think that was just good writing, like, because it really did lead us down. At least it led me down a path where it's like, oh, they're setting her up for like a crazy turn,
Mhm.
you know, because she's just been tortured by all these
Yep.
people, and she's just
Right.
gonna go fucking. I mean, she did have that moment technically, like when she was in Coruscant, like she was like hopped up on drugs and, you know, really feeling her feelings. But then a year, a lot can happen in a year, I guess. I mean, she got some, she gotten some force healing, and
Yeah, we had
Feeling-
two full 1 year later jumps.
after that moment, yeah, you're totally
Yep.
right. And yeah, apparently paid off because she's like, she's now this like force loving, good times lady.
So that's the horror on Gorman, and another aspect that I thought was really interesting in how they depicted it was Imperial news covering it. That you
Right.
had broadcast journalism in Star Wars for
Yes.
the first
State
explicit, yeah, and their depiction of the events, and you see Cyril's mother,
Watching
you
it.
know, watching the reporting on this, and that the there, you know, there's been instigators and, you know, terrorist attacks, and
I mean, you just imagine being a mom, like watching and knowing that your son is there. Like it was. I mean, she's such a funny character, but like knowing that was really fucking sad to watch.
yeah. But then you have Mothma, who we haven't talked about yet. So all
baby.
this is happening on Gorman, and
Love me some Mon Moth.
on Coruscant, the point of no return is quickly approaching, and
Is Mon Mothma a lesbian now?
No, why?
no.
Because she's got a short
I
hair.
don't think so.
Jeez
don't-
Louise.
I think that's what
Daniel.
they alluded to. Am I
No,
crazy?
I don't think
No,
they
what are you
alluded to that at
talking
all.
about? With who? Who is she
I
gay
thought,
with?
I thought she cut her haircut. I thought she cut her hair to be less recognizable. Like,
And
Yeah.
a lesbian.
Oh my gosh.
No,
If there were
but,
any of those vibes, I would have picked up on it. Who do you think
I
that
would
she?
think
Who do you?
so, but I also kind of
With
got the
who?
vibe that like with what's her face at the end, the actual lesbian that
Vel?
like.
Vel is
Vel.
her niece.
That's her cousin or her niece.
Oh, that's right.
It's literally her niece. Oh my god, Daniel.
And I think it's made pretty explicitly clear
That's right.
she had feelings for Tay Kolma,
That's right.
Yeah, take Holma. Like he was the.
Well,
he was
she
the,
could
who
also
she had
be-
to off
I
Yeah.
think I was thinking like, is she bisexual? But yeah, I completely forgot that they were
off
like
the haircut. Shame on you.
the haircut and the incestuous relationship. Apparently,
right,
mean,
which is
Jeez
what the
Louise.
lesbians do. That is it.
Oh,
Oh,
brother.
Jesus God.
But,
All right, let's move on.
unreal. Okay,
We're
Mon
gonna edit
Mothma.
that. We're gonna edit that
No,
out.
we're not.
No.
Definitely not.
But so Mon is reaching the point of no return. She and Bail Organa witness a senator being hauled off
Mhm.
Oof.
for speaking out, and
Which we're literally seeing in real life right now. Not like actual senators, but like civilians are being in real life times are being
Oh.
taken away for doing the same thing.
but she tells Bail, you know, I gotta say something, and
Yeah. And then I
And-
gotta
and then
bail.
we both yes, then we both need to bounce, and he says, well, I need to stay here and buy everyone time, and
Sure.
to get things going on Yavin. And so she sets in motion this big climactic speech. It's during this planning that we discover her aide Erskine, or she discovers that
Yep.
her aide Erskine is a plant.
Yeah.
Oops.
Working for Luthen.
Working for Luthen, and Luthen obviously is the one who reveals this to her, and Their dynamic is one of the more. It's similar to Saul Guerrera's relationship with the others, and they all have these different ideas of how rebellion is conducted, and which foot do you lead with, and here, you see almost the damage Luthen's meddling has done psychologically, even if it is ultimately the right thing to do.
Sure, because without his work, the rebellion would not exist.
And we'll talk about that. But you see Mon just kind of shattered by the notion that she's been spied on by her own
A trusted ally.
co-conspirators, and she's
one of one of the last people that she could really rely on.
Right, and she actually asks, who can I trust? And he says, at the moment, me, and that's it.
Right.
And he says to
who
her,
who is it in the show that in the last few episodes that I've learned to trust no one? Did I just imagine that?
Someone said trust no one?
Yeah, I trust no one. I've learned to trust no one. I don't know. Maybe I made that up. I could have sworn. Oh well, it's not important.
Maybe it'll come to me. But I thought it was really interesting when he says to her, my man will come pick you up because Bail Organa's crew that he's hired, there's some tomfoolery in there.
Yeah, that's what a crazy twist.
Which
I was thinking in my head is does Bail know about it?
They don't say it out loud, but the only reason we know that is through Lonnie.
Oh right.
Oh yeah.
Who has been the ISB plant this whole time, and you kind of have to piece it together, which I also appreciate Tony Gilroy doing. It's like he's not telling us everything.
No,
which is great.
that whole Lonnie scene was really. I mean, I was like, do I need to watch that again? There was so much happening, and it was so read between the liney that I was like,
read between the liney.
But Luthen says to her, my man is going to pick you up. He's going to say, I have
friends everywhere.
I have friends everywhere. But then he says it again, and it almost sounds like a threat.
Yeah,
it absolutely is.
It isn't. But if you're viewing this from Mon's perspective at this moment, it's like,
yikes, big yikes.
Just do as I say.
Yeah, well, because it's their relation. I mean, really, everybody's relationship with Luthen is held by a fucking an itty bitty string, very fragile. If you say one wrong thing, you have it's like you got to be toast now.
If you know too much, if you say too much, and Mon,
you even mentioned the word Yavin.
We just talked about Take Colma, and she says, I often think about him, and how all it took was a little concern on his part for Luthen to jump into action and somebody's life. And that's just not the way she rolls. But, I mean, those two together.
Who's to say that he would have actually followed through and jeopardized
she says
the rebellion? Yeah.
Yeah. But Luthen is like, we can't take the risk.
No,
so bye.
It's not worth the risk. Yeah.
But Stellan Skarsgård and Genevieve O'Reilly together is just
my God.
Just a thrilling combination. And you go back to season 1, I think those were the performances I enjoyed the most. Just that, and Maggie says the same.
Says absolutely.
Yeah.
So we get to this moment where Mon is going to uncork everything, and it doesn't disappoint.
Oh my gosh, that monologue. Ooh boy.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about it.
I mean, the writing was perfect, first of all, but it just everything that had been bubbling up with season 1 and 2, she so perfectly released all of that, and to have that to actually have that release, was huge, because we weren't entirely sure we were going to get that.
Well, and just spitting absolute incredible one-liners about the gulf between what is said and what is true has never been wider, and truth being exiled from this chamber, or the monster screaming the loudest, and you see her kind of take her breath, and it's
Drum
Emperor
roll.
Palpatine.
Yeah.
And I love this whole moment. You have the guy who's kind of in charge of the Senate, the media corps, kind of the press corps, and he's scrambling to shut this down, and you've got the ISB just completely losing their mind that the feed hasn't been cut, and
cut it down.
Yeah, I
And
think
then you
my favorite quote from the whole thing was, "The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil."
Ooh,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
And
It's good stuff.
yeah, just you have those two technicians who refuse to open the door, and you can I don't know, you just feel the rebellion spreading at this point, that it feels momentous and
Unstoppable now.
Unstoppable and inevitable. And then during this, you have the tension of Cassian racing Bale's people to get to Mon, and it all feels so dangerous.
It does. It's great. It echoes back to these last really almost 6 episodes. Really echo back to the vibe of the movie Rogue One, where it's just like sort of this torch passing, you know what I mean, like the baton passing, and like but the stakes are literally life and death, you know. So it's just never so relentless, and it all like so much relies on the passing of this baton, you know, because if that doesn't happen, then nothing happens.
Yeah,
right.
You know, it all comes crumbling down.
And I think it's Luthen and Clea say that to each other at several points. Well, Clea says it to when she's standing with Cassian and Luthen outside of the Senate chambers.
Yeah.
Said, what happens if she gets arrested? And Clea says, it all comes down.
It all comes down. Yeah.
It all,
that's
it all crumbles. Yep.
It's toast. Side note, I don't want us to get too distracted, but like something I also noticed in this scene too, there's like, it was something that they could have easily done. And I feel like in pretty much any other Star Wars show, I think Palpatine would have made some kind of an entrance, and I'm glad that they didn't. And I'm just glad, because it just goes to show that we don't need that.
And well, Tony,
the moment didn't need it.
No,
it didn't need it.
And Tony Gilroy actually spoke to Palpatine and Vader's absence from the series as a whole.
He spoke to Palpatine.
He spoke
he said he wasn't available.
So. I'm not available.
He spoke on their absence from the series and said, if I needed them, I would have used them.
Right.
It's great.
And specifically with Vader, he said, I have nothing to say with him, and he doesn't have much to say to begin with. So, like,
right.
There's no point. And I love that actually not including them, to your point, Alyssa, just it makes the machine feel scarier, and and it also gives an opportunity to see the different hierarchies.
Yeah.
You know, I think I mentioned this on our first coverage of this season, that you see so many of these different Imperial characters kind of lord over their little fiefdoms, and it goes up the ladder, and particularly with Krennic, played by fantastic Ben Mendelsohn.
So good.
In this series, or rather in this season of the series, he's sinister and in control and relishing command. And then you fast forward to Rogue One, and he's a sycophant, and he's a jealous little bitch. I mean,
he is truly
right.
He's real strong,
and
mine. He's real strong and real tough, and then he gets summoned to Mustafar, and then
Yeah,
Like,
right.
no, you're a little bitch.
You're a little bitch. Do your job and then leave.
But think about how it goes all the way down to Cyril, and
Mhm.
they all end up consuming one another.
Right. I think in the just to put a button on the not including Palpatine and Darth Vader, I think it also just like it extends the realness of the show. Well, just of it makes the universe of Star Wars that much more real, because of course they're not going to be at every single situation.
No.
It just otherwise it
No.
makes everything feels so small
And
like-
overexposed, yeah.
and overexposed too.
yeah.
Yes, but this definitely gives more. It just adds more reality to it for sure.
And then we end this arc. We briefly touched on it, on Bix's decision to walk away once Cassian has delivered Mon Mothma,
And also after he apparently planted a seed.
but yeah, that's not how I expected that to go. And you
No,
talk about
mm-mm.
sacrifice in this show, and everybody makes one, and I think
Mhm.
they are all of equal weight, both psychological and
Yeah.
physical.
Yeah.
And this is one of the toughest ones. This is willingly walking away from happiness.
But interestingly, walking into into another form of happiness, I guess.
Yeah.
For her, at least. Although, yeah, I guess she wouldn't really. She doesn't know that until it happens. But
No, and then she's also counting on a reunion. She's like,
Right.
when this is
Someday.
over and when we've won,
Mhm.
we're gonna do all the things we missed out on.
Yeah.
And I was just
That
broken
was
by
really that was
that.
really heartbreaking.
it's not going to happen.
The dramatic
Not
irony
gonna
is
happen.
that's how you that's how you do a prequel, folks. It's
Mhm.
it's even knowing the end result, making it as painful getting to that result as humanly possible.
That's
And
right. Rip our heart out and eat it for lunch.
I mean, that's why Revenge of the Sith, out of all the prequel movies, works so well. It's because
Totally.
there are moments where you're like, oh, and Anakin's going to be okay. Like, Anakin's going to step up and do the right thing here.
Yeah.
And
Or the final season of, or I should say, the final couple episodes of Clone Wars too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where for brief moments it feels like maybe things will be different. And
Yeah.
but
It's like, oh, Ahsoka was so close. She could have, if she just had that conversation. Oh my god.
but Bix's sacrifice is a hard one to swallow, and she doesn't yet understand the ramifications
Mm-hmm.
of that. But you think about so many moments in this series that if it didn't happen exactly the way it did, it all comes down, or maybe it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And how much had to go right.
Mm-hmm. And it miraculously does.
Yeah. And I mean,
mean-
truly, I mean,
Well, yeah, because there are just so many loose ends that if one, I mean, yeah, I just
you fast forward, if Luke Skywalker doesn't meet Ben Kenobi, then
Right.
every single one of these domino pieces had to line up just right. And what is
Right.
that if not the will of the Force? And I think that was the literal
will
role
of the
that.
wills.
Yes, and midichlorians and so forth.
And so forth and so forth.
But I can't overstate the importance of that healer showing up so briefly and having vague images of how things are supposed to go. And
Well, yeah, he doesn't obviously, like, this is kind of not a retcon, but like it's just more world building, character building for Cassian. But because he doesn't mention it in the film of Rogue One that he was like touched by a Force healer, but you could easily like put that in the back of his head and be like, that probably helped him like firm his decision. Like, I am here to make the ultimate sacrifice. Like, I have to do this. Like, this is the Force's will or whatever. Maybe he became a believer in the end or something like that. I don't know. Which is kind of
think,
cool.
If not a full believer, he doesn't discount it, certainly.
Yeah.
And
Right.
there is a glance we'll
He's like,
talk
"Well,
about it
that
when we
was
get
kind of
there.
spooky.
But they do share a moment near the end of this
Yeah.
series where it's like,
Yeah.
A knowing glance.
I see
Oh,
what you.
that music was so good too. Fuck.
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah. Oh god, we're so close.
So now we find ourselves 1 year prior to the Battle of Yavin.
Ding ding.
And the sheer amount of stuff, I was thinking about it while watching, the sheer amount of stuff that happens in the months leading up to it is just
Wild.
even in the days before we meet Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Just all of this unfolding. But in this next episode, we have Luthen meeting with Lonnie, which turns out to be his last ever report that the Emperor's energy program is indeed a super weapon. And Luthen, their exchanges is really tense, and you see Lonnie bargaining basically for his family's safety, for his safety, and Luthen...
here's the biggest twist. I really, really thought he was gay.
Lonnie?
Oh yeah, we
I
thought
did.
Lonnie and the other ISB agent.
Yeah, I mean, I
were
guess they were
together.
just being like cute friends, but he's just like, when he's just like, I'm gonna buy you lunch. I was just like, oh, they're gonna bang.
Well, I think what's his face?
The friend is.
The other guy that got killed by
who was-
K2SO.
Yeah, who was Deidre's attaché at first and then gets promoted. I think he probably is.
He gay. Okay.
All
I mean,
right.
he doesn't have any.
Any butt sex on camera?
So it's hard
Your
to
words,
say.
not mine.
Yeah, right.
That's the only way I can
you-
identify homosexuals
understand.
on
Right.
screen. I don't know
you didn't
about
even
you.
say that you're gay, but no, if you got to prove it.
I'm going to scrub all this out. We don't.
No, you're not.
We don't need to talk about gays.
Yes, we
No,
do.
well, Mon Mothma's gay for her cousin, don't you?
That's that's right.
So much gay misinformation on this episode.
I mean-
My God.
just.
I mean, like, I think I'm just really trying to see.
But there's enough there to be like
There
it's
is.
there. It's
There
there.
is.
It's
Yeah.
very much there.
This show's
It's
pretty
there.
You
gay.
don't have to guess.
Right. You're right.
You don't have to go looking for it where it isn't.
Yeah, that's true.
To the show's credit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's good writing.
But Lonnie's bargaining here, and Luthen tells him, "Well, I'll take you to Yavin."
Mm-hmm.
Little did we know that when he gives Lonnie the name Yavin, he
Yeah.
is no longer allowed to live.
Yeah, it's almost like the kiss of death.
Yeah.
Although I was kind of curious too what you thought. Like, so I surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, because I'm an idiot. I was surprised that he got killed because I was like, oh wow, maybe he's gonna have a happy ending. Maybe this is actually it. But
I don't think I guessed it would happen that way, but I did not think there was any way Lonnie made it out of
he was gonna make it.
the
Yeah.
ISB. I mean,
Yeah.
he
But
was
I
in
was
it so
interested-
deep.
I was interested
Well,
too.
he was Luthen's informant for how long? Like,
so
Yeah.
long,
years.
right? And then like,
and the fact that he never got
the
caught.
the ISB like knows him and his family so well that like they probably would never stop looking for him if they knew that he was still alive.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so
And they
it,
met
it,
in
it
that,
makes
that like
sense.
square, which is like right outside their office
Well,
buildings and stuff.
and
I was just like,
Right.
ugh.
It was like a public execution
I
just
was
so they
thinking
knew
about it.
he wouldn't be
I was
a loose
thinking about
end.
it. Luthen killing Lonnie actually probably secures Lonnie's family because
No, that's what I was about to ask.
they won't go hunting for they don't know.
No.
Right.
Like it was a murder. It was
Yeah. That's
um,
true.
and by cutting that loose end, the Empire has no reason to even
Assume-
suspect.
Yeah.
You know, they won't go for his family. So I mean, Luthen did keep his his promise to him
Mhm.
so to speak.
in a very
I mean,
roundabout way.
Of course, we never see that come to fruition, but I was kind of assuming. Well, there was one of two things: either like Lonnie actually never had a family to begin with, and he was just saying that to like
no, I think he
get
definitely
something.
did.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too. But yeah, I kind of it felt like they were. Well, they didn't even really allude to it, but I at least in my heart, it makes me feel better thinking that Luthen was going to. Of course, but how? Because Luthen fucking dies like, unless
How
he like
what?
How
would
does
he have secured his family?
Yeah, how would he have secured his family if he died before he was even able to like tell anybody about it?
But he did by just killing Lonnie. The Empire can't find out he's a mole. So
God, yeah. Like he's not going to take the family to the Yavin.
no, he doesn't have to do anything for this.
Sure,
the family
the family is just going to.
The family not only disappeared, they're irrelevant because there's no suspicion that Lonnie was the one leaking all of this information.
Yeah.
Now they're just some random family on Coruscant. Yeah.
So they can't even interrogate. They don't even get a chance to.
Non-gay family on Coruscant.
They're gay for each other.
That's all as it is. In
It's very
Star Wars.
bohemian. So, but before this happens, Lonnie tells Luthen that the ISB is they are so close to finding him, and that you have probably minutes. In fact, So Luthen goes back to the shop, and he tells Clea, "F off. I'll take care of this, and then I'll mate you." And he goes about dismantling his communication system,
burning the comms.
And the doorbell rings. And did you know who it was?
I did.
No.
Yeah, I knew it was her.
I've had this just.
I've been waiting for this moment, but I was just like, this could be anybody. Here we go.
Their dance for the first like 2 minutes of her in that shop, I was just like, I'm sure my shoulders were inside my ears.
My favorite line is when she asks him, "Is everything in the shop real?" And he says, "Well, there's 2 items of unknown provenance." There might be a few fakes in here, and then she pulls out the Starpath unit,
right?
And,
my
she goes,
dear God!
She's like, "I've been waiting for this moment," and Luthen is just so unimpressed by her, and he's like, "Oh, I've known who you are all along," and
oh gosh, the writing in that scene was so good.
And then the second best moment of that exchange in my mind is when she says, "You disgust me," and he says, "The rebellion isn't here anymore. They flew away.
On.
There's a whole galaxy waiting to disgust you."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh my God,
so good, so good."
And this turns out to be
you just got Luthened.
You got Luthened. It's lethal.
Lethal Luthen. That's what they call him.
But this turns out to be Deidre's biggest and final mistake.
Yeah, big whoops.
Was doing what so many characters in the show have done, which is,
and Star Wars in general,
is pursuing things for selfish
pride.
She and Cyril are very alike in that way. They are careerist, opportunists, ladder climbers in a system that is not interested in them as an individual. And the fact she tries to confront him alone, when she turns her back, Luthen stabs himself. And
which, I mean, just like as I don't know if it's a complaint, but it's like I'm sure he stabbed himself in a way that he thought would be lethal, but also like, shoot yourself in the head. Maybe you just didn't have a gun on him or something like that, but make it more final.
Well, and if he had, I don't know. I don't think she a gun. I think a gun is harder to pull off in that moment.
Probably.
I think if she suspected he had one, it's like put your hands up and throw the
put
gun
your
on
hands
the ground.
up. Yeah, sure.
But he had almost planned for that. I mean, he did when he shows her the knife.
Here's the knife
purpose.
that I'm going to stab myself with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm thinking about it now. There was a line. Was it in season 1? Mon Mothma says she's talking about Palpatine, and she says, I'll show you what's in my left hand, and concealing the knife that's in my other.
Yeah.
And there's, I don't know if it's a great 1-to-1 kind of parallel, but I kind of love that. In so many ways, Luthen is kind of the Rebels version of Palpatine.
He
majorly
is. Yeah.
He has this grand design, and it's it's cruel, but it's
But it
it's
works.
been well thought out. I mean, you think
Yeah.
about how Palpatine climbed to where he was,
Mhm.
and it took years and years of contrition and deceit and
Well, and we learn
turning on your friends.
we learned that
Right.
about Luthen in these
Yeah.
last couple of episodes, that
Yeah.
it truly was something that had been, I mean, since Clea was a child.
Right.
Yeah, and
This-
He even instilled in Clea like the mindset that you don't go in unless you have a way out. Like
Yeah.
you need to know your way out before you go in, or whatever the way they worded it.
but I'm so struck now, and I'll probably dig into this more as time goes on, of just how similar those two, Palpatine and
Interesting.
Luthen, are, and
Yeah.
and how much time it took for them to realize their goal. And in Luthen's case, he says it, making a sunrise I know I'll never see, and but yeah, what a way for him to go out, and then we're given, you just alluded to it, we're given really interesting insight to him and Clea's relationship,
Yeah.
and how that came to be, and Luthen suffering from PTSD and just shell shock from war, and
I like that it was like, I mean, am I crazy? It was fairly generalized war too, right? Like it wasn't super specific as to like where they were, what they were fighting for.
I wasn't positive what it was.
It was just like
and
another
maybe
Star War.
Maybe eagle-eyed people can speak to it, but
I mean, the only thing I can assume is that it would have been during the time of the Clone Wars.
well, it could have
Probably?
it could have been just after, because just the way they're dressed, they could have been
Like separatists or something.
no, well, early Empire. I thought maybe Luthen was in the military, like so many other people.
That
were.
was pretty clear he's in the military, but
No,
just
but I mean,
who's
like
military.
on
like
the Imperial side.
military.
Oh, I see.
I mean,
Which,
you
I
think
mean,
You think about
kinda
Han
makes sense.
Solo. You think about all these people.
Yeah.
because
Luke
at the end
wanted
of the
to go to
day,
the academy. I mean, like,
well, for his character to like know all the ins and outs, like it would make more sense if he like already had sort of a leg up in that way.
Mm-hmm.
but seeing him take Clea under his wing and by way of being, antique dealers, and
Yeah,
and
although she was already pretty good at it.
yeah, she's very quick, and her negotiating is kind of take it or leave it, and
Yeah, it's like we already got a deal. You little liar.
But what was really telling about Luthen, and the most important lesson,
also that kid, like they cast like
It was
she
really
looks
good
exactly
casting.
like
It was
her.
really good casting.
Oh my
Yes.
god, so perfect. Sorry.
no. I think maybe the most important lesson about that Luthen ends up teaching Clea ends up being on Palpatine's homeworld, which
Right.
it has been confirmed that was Naboo, that they're
Yeah.
sitting at a little cafe.
Yeah.
And
The first look
classic-
of it, I was like, that has to be Naboo, but
and
Those
his
classic rooftops.
his first act of violence against the Empire is on Palpatine's home world, and
Mhm.
he teaches Clea the importance of having
Choice.
choice and certainty when and a stiff upper lip when you go to make and he ultimately doesn't let her
Yeah,
do it, but
but she gets to do it eventually.
yeah.
oh man, that I just appreciated getting to see that relationship blossom, and then she willingly watches a public execution
Yeah,
and
right.
Doesn't blink, and you think about how cold she becomes, and
Mhm.
she hardens herself, and that's exactly what Luthen does. He again, I go back to that speech.
Harden her heart.
His
It's gonna swallow her tears.
his monologue to Lonnie in season 1. I mean, where he just he says all of this is I give up peace, I give up kinship, I give up, and I'm not going to get to see the fruits of any of this.
Mhm.
But what's so beautiful is that Clea will,
Yeah.
Right.
and she is in many ways Luthen reincarnated,
Mhm.
and
Mhm. And it is nice to know that at least he can kind of. I think that he died knowing. At least, I think that hope was probably enough that he passed that baton. His job was
Well, he
finished.
did everything that he possibly could have done.
Yeah.
He gave his
Mhm.
entire life.
And
Yeah.
what a great way to find or to solidify Clea as the next Luthen by not having Luthen die in the shop, but be taken to an Imperial hospital, which she has to break into.
I loved that sequence. That was so
cool.
fun.
But it was just so. I mean, I just appreciate. It had been so easy for him to have killed himself, and that be that. But she has to go to the trouble and then do it herself,
and then murder him. Yeah, like,
and no words are spoken. No, he doesn't wake up. He doesn't.
Just putting Grandpa to bed.
I did love the scene when she's going up in the elevator with the elderly patient.
Oh my god! Like, probably the only bit of levity that we got. That was my favorite. And then, like, great. Literally, I don't know if you guys watch. If you watch with subtitles, I always watch with subtitles. Yeah. But like in the scene where she's by herself, it literally says in parentheses, like, I can't remember what they called her, like old lady or something like that, but she says old lady scatting. She's like, it is excellent.
It's terrific.
I didn't look at. I need to look at who played that
creature,
who is that voice, because it was just wonderful.
But during this sequence, Deidre is arrested by her former protege, and it's.
But that's also kind of a pride thing on his part too.
Oh yeah,
because he's just like
a ruthless ladder climber, and
just like all of them.
But so interestingly, if you think back to like the first meeting Deidre sits in at the ISB, and you had several of her colleagues criticizing her for. The biggest danger to the Empire is people who don't stay in their lane.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of in a weird way, we're kind of cheering Deidre on during those scenes, because it's like I don't know why. I can't. I'm not sure I can articulate why, but she's kind of that scrappy underdog in her circumstance.
Totally. And you're just like, oh, Deidre.
And she's not full blown evil yet.
No.
Or we don't know that yet.
Yeah. Well, we've watched her struggle and lose Cyril and all of this, and so there is a weird thing where you're just kind of like, oh, I hope that she might be able to.
Well, and there's also, the element of being the woman in the room, and Tony Gilroy did that purposefully.
Yeah, of course.
As well, but all of her colleagues saying, again, that the biggest danger to the Empire were people acting as she has. It turns out they were right. And she's failed spectacularly several times, and you could argue, I mean, it's the fault of many, but you could argue it's her fault this all comes, like the Empire itself starts to come apart.
I mean,
it's her fault.
I mean, yeah, because if she wouldn't have been so hyper focused on getting Luthen herself, they could have potentially caught him and used him in a way to at least dismantle.
They'd have discovered Yavin.
Yeah, they would have discovered Yavin. They would have dismantled large portions of the rebellion, and who knows how things would have transpired after that.
If they find out where Yavin is before.
No, it's over.
Everything is set in motion. It's done.
Well, yeah, it is her pursuit of access, at least in the very, very last this particular episode that we're talking about is it drives him to move so fast and to like kill off what's his face
Lonnie.
and then to Lonnie. So yeah. Oops.
I mean, and we're talking a little bit out of order, but since we're on the discussion of the Empire kind of realizing its massive fuck up, how about that scene with Partagas? In
Where
his
he's
office,
listening back to that
to Nemec. Well,
to
Nemec,
yeah.
Nemec,
taking it all the way back to like the first, what was that, the third episode of Andor or fourth episode or
the
something?
Aldani, the raid on Aldani, and Nemec.
Was that the most beautiful episode? Was like the Eye? Was that the way it was called?
That was
that episode was amazing.
Jeez, I need to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
But Nemec's manifesto has been spread galaxy wide because and the hint we get is Partagas turns to I forget the guy's name.
The other the guy that's like
officer,
on comms a ton during the press conference.
I'm blanking, but he turns to him and says, "This isn't the first time you've heard this." And he said, "No, it's spreading." And it's this whole Partagas has uses the metaphor several times throughout the series of the ISB being healthcare providers and killing disease and stopping virus, and the cancer as he sees it is now terminal and has spread everywhere.
We can't stop it. Yeah.
And knowing that fact and knowing what he faces for his failure, he chooses,
I'm going to do this on my own terms.
Yeah. And what a haunting moment when the other officer walks out and
he's like, I know what's about to happen.
And then he just gently puts his hand up to the stormtroopers, like, "Don't go in there. It's like,
yeah, leave him alone.
It's eating everybody."
Yeah.
Although in the sequel to, season 3, we're going to see he's not actually dead. He just like made the shot. And then,
we didn't see the body, of course.
Yeah, that's right. He escaped through the rafters.
Right.
You see
at his age, definitely.
Going through the fucking like vents.
And then, on the topic of eating their own, then we get just scenery chewing Ben Mendelsohn interrogating Deidre.
We talked about this
we
last
talked
night.
about it last night.
Yeah.
I
like a top of your list of things to make you uncomfortable.
I don't think that I've been the head touching and the pushing his finger into her soft spot, her undeveloped soft spot from as a baby, was the first thing. And then when he leaves the room, the way that he is like squeezing her head and then shoves it away, like
oh my
it's
God.
To carry on without you.
The physicality.
It was
of
really
that,
upsetting.
It almost. I'm really curious, like how Tony Gilroy or how they.
The director of this
episode. I want to know how they. What?
The director of this episode.
The director of this episode. I want to know how they.
We should quote who.
How it was originally. What do you call it? Not formatted. Blocked. Thank you.
Well, I know that
Alonso Ruiz Palacios.
There he is.
I know the head touch was not in the script. That was a Ben Mendelsohn.
It feels like a lot of that was Ben Mendelsohn.
Denise Go said when he did that was a genuine reaction.
Yeah. Oh, I love that and she so said much.
And how it's shot when he walks in. And you don't see his face. Like it cuts off at his chin.
And then he leans. And then he leans in, and he's like, just an inch away from her.
Fuck. He's never been more scary.
That whole scene, and her just frantically defending herself and saying the whole reason that I had to
because you torture
scavenge is because I wasn't allowed to do what I should have been allowed to do.
And then in her scavenging...
Which, she's not wrong. I mean, it really is their fault for not letting her do her job. Yeah.
But being the relentless climber that she is, she compiled by mistake, compiled all of the Death Star material into one file.
Oopsie!
Oops! It literally is her fault.
Yeah.
It literally is her fault. It all comes apart for them. I cannot believe it came down to this one person who was so singularly focused on Luthen and
Cassian.
and
It was one of those like accidental discoveries, kind of like how we were talking about in Daredevil, like with Foggy.
Yeah.
Like, geez, not even knowing the extent of what they had just found.
No, and Krennic makes the point that any pieces of information about the Death Star on their own are you couldn't figure it out, but you compiled all of it by mistake. And
yet, I do have a complaint about that scene. He says, "Say the word," and then she says, "Death Star."
yes,
It's 2 words.
As far as I know, Death Star
2
is
words.
2 words. So I think
Well, maybe we're
Well,
wrong.
I think this is the worst show ever.
I mean he's the head of the project. Maybe it's 1 word.
You're right.
Maybe it's one.
Maybe it's hyphenated. It could be hyphenated.
Maybe
Death
we're
dash
wrong.
Maybe
Star.
we're the idiots, Daniel.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
But I love when he says to her, "How?" I'm paraphrasing, but how do you reconcile being so aggressively competent and so stupid at the same time?
Oh God.
And that is her. She's very smart. And she's very good at the meat and potatoes of her job.
He sounds like this manager I used to have in this restaurant in New York.
Orson Krennic. Slightly fruity,
Definitely.
sociopathic career climber.
Yep. I mean, most corporate, restaurant managers. That's not true. I'm just kidding. But the ones that I've worked with.
Corporate in general.
Oh God.
Any large corporation.
But it's. I can't wait to go back and watch Rogue One and A New Hope.
Oh man, me too.
With
if it wasn't 3:30 in the morning, I would have watched it right then and there.
But with the knowledge that the Empire is already coming apart, as opposed to the Death Star being like the destruction of the Death Star being the moment it starts to kind of come apart. It's been happening, and the Death Star, in Krennic's mind, is kind of the Hail Mary of like, we're losing control now. Like this isn't to prevent something. Like this isn't. Treatment, preventative treatment. This is
to
we got to kill the cancer.
Yeah.
The cancer's here.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, watching Star Wars now, it's again doing what a prequel should do, which is enhance what came before.
And it makes sense that they would make 2.
Yeah,
like they do end up doing.
Well, and it's stupid because it's stupid. And,
it's very stupid.
But that's what makes guys, a villain like Thrawn, for instance. I know we're kind of on a tangent here, but what makes Thrawn so interesting is that there is precedent in canon of him. I believe it was in that Empire short series.
Tales of the Empire.
Tales of the Empire, and then briefly
in the most recent one, because I actually haven't watched that.
Tales of the Empire was last year.
Oh, thank you. No, this was what was the one that we just had?
Tales of the Underworld.
Underworld.
And then a bit in Rebels, Krennic pushes back on, or Thrawn pushes back on Krennic and the idea of putting all your resources into a super weapon as opposed to a large mobile fleet. And Thrawn takes issue with how stupid the Empire is in its allocation of resources and time, and everything's mass produced and unwieldy, and but it makes sense that they would not learn. It's like, okay, that didn't work. We'll do it bigger and better this time.
We'll try again. Same plan. Round 2.
They'll never suspect we do it twice.
Yeah, they wouldn't think they were that dumb.
Turns out we are.
Oops.
Yeah, and I love that, honestly, going into the sequels, the First Order doesn't learn either. And the sad irony there is that they think they are smarter than the ones that came before. It's like, we're going to build it better, and you're even dumber. Like, I love that the progression of
bigger doesn't mean better.
You're even dumber than the guys who came before you. And So that's really interesting to watch fleshed out.
Although interestingly, though, and I'm, the inevitable series that's going to come that's going to try to fix the sequel series, because we all know that's happening at some point. I think that we'll probably. It sort of feels like the First Order was just a large distraction for Palpatine's return. So because they're disposable for him, because once he becomes inevitably what's it called, invincible, basically, like you can't kill him, then he doesn't need a giant army. It's like he is the army, so who cares? So if they make stupid mistakes, it's like, so be it, I guess.
Well, I mean, you think about how willing Palpatine is, and this is kind of digging deep into canon, but Operation Cinder, and he basically has a contingency in place to destroy the Empire upon his death because it's not worthy to exist without him.
Yeah, right.
And to root out the morons. I mean, and we're getting a good look at the morons.
Right.
Yep.
But
how many assholes have we got on this ship?
I'm surrounded by assholes. But enough about the assholes. So Clea, upon finishing her duty of tying up the loose ends, she's back at the safe house, and Andor and Melshi go and.
Yeah, honestly, I was surprised that she made it.
Yeah,
it was close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, oh, this is how she dies.
Yes. But Andor and Melshi go and convince her to go to Yavin, and this is another fascinating moment where she expresses frustration with the other elements of rebellion, and that they don't take Luthen seriously. They besmirch his name.
Yeah, and that her paradise is going to be somewhere that doesn't understand and did what he did.
Right, and she doesn't feel safe. I think she intimates that she doesn't even feel safe going to Yavin.
Because I think that they kind of
prisoner there.
Right, they alluded to at least the rebels on Yavin look at them as if they're criminals.
Yeah, similar to Saw. They're just they're terrorists, and they're unfeeling and unkind, and as it turns out, the two of them are very much neither of those things. They care very deeply, but their sacrifice is their humanity. I mean, human comfort and
a necessary evil.
But the ISB is closing in on her, and that's kind of Deidre's final act, is tipping them off that she's still in the picture, and she knows everything that Luthen knew.
Oh, another comedic moment from this episode that just absolutely tickled me was the ISB officer that was trying to uncover whatever had not been burned from their console. She has this moment where she's like, it's actually really brilliant what they did. They hushed over into the neighboring thing, and then she looks over at the other officer, and he's like,
no, this isn't the time.
It's like they've been listening to all of our shit for years.
So
sorry.
But
sorry,
yeah, she gets
extremely
tickled by how brilliant they
actually. This is really good work. Oh, sorry.
That really.
God, they're so much smarter than us. Oh, I'm sorry.
That really tickled me.
Oh my God,
that's very funny.
So the ISB shows up, and they are trapped, and to the rescue comes trusty K2SO.
Oh man!
And so we finally get to see the moment that he saved Cassian, because he talks about it a ton.
Yes,
totally.
See it in action.
And this is probably one of numerous times for sure. But and he's also just as funny as ever, but maybe the most terrifying we've ever seen him. Also,
well, yeah, he gets his version of the hallway scene where
that literally same. That was the same thing I thought. I was like, oh my God,
it's just a running trope now. Star Wars trope of scary people in hallways and
scary hallways. Yeah,
and using what's his fuck as a
body
human shield.
Oh,
that was
God.
Scary. I was like, we're doing that. We're doing that.
His
just dead body,
his puppet-like body. Oh my God! Yikes! 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 I love
you've just got
to that.
And this is, I know we talked about Partagast's suicide already, but this
Radagast is his name.
Radagast the Brown's suicide.
Right.
But you see Partagast, he's on comms and just absolutely panicking. That
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
we can't do anything right. Like, this is coming undone.
Yep.
And
How many assholes have we got on this ship?
but they get stunned, and Clea, I guess, it's concussed.
Also, that was a really cool thing. I've never
the
seen
concussion grenade. Yeah,
Ooh, that was cool. I liked that.
yeah, the stun grenade.
Very neat.
But she gets injured, and they do manage to get the hell off Coruscant.
I feel like we had that. Like I'm trying to remember a time that they've used that in any of the films or like the Star Wars grenade, that thing. But I know that they had them in the game.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that specific grenade.
At least not used
before,
like
but-
that. It was cool.
But yeah, they managed to make it to Yavin, where Cassian's in trouble again with rebel leadership because he
Always in
keeps
trouble.
stealing ship and
Not
doing
telling
things
anyone where he's
not
going.
supposed to.
I did it my way.
And they obviously tolerate him, but it's Bail Organa really who's like, we're not gonna be doing that anymore.
I'm putting my foot down.
And for a final episode, so all of that takes place in the first 20 minutes.
Right.
And then we spend the rest of the episode on Yavin with everyone just grappling with what has happened. And usually with finales, I know penultimate episodes are typically the super dramatic ones, but even finales,
At least
you
they
do
can
have,
be.
I don't know. I feel like there's some more theatrics, but this,
Oh, certainly.
they took the road of just the slow, just really how the show began, a slow burn to what's about to happen. And
Yeah.
you have
Really
some
setting up all of the chess pieces for the film.
in a really organic way, which
Totally.
Yeah.
which
Totally.
I'm blown away by how seamlessly they do transition to Rogue One, because we are literally days away from the attack on the Death Star.
Right.
We're days away at this point, which is I mean more like weeks, but for all intents and purposes, days. And
Which is interesting because they, this what do you call it? Episode chunk is supposed to be like one BBY, but I'm not sure an entire year passes between these episodes and the actual Battle of Yavin.
No.
But-
I think that the year passed from Arc 3 and Arc 4, and then when they jump into one battle, one year BBY, they're at the tail end of that year. They're weeks away from.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
They're not saying
that's
there's a year.
how I put it in my head. I was like,
There's
it's
not
not
a
the
full
beginning
year.
of BBY,
Because
it's more
because
the end.
no, because Rogue One is literal days.
Days.
It's days
It
before,
goes right into A New Hope. So
right.
and this is days before. I mean, a day before Rogue One starts.
And A New Hope happens in a matter of 2 hours.
Yes. But you do have some really interesting interactions on Yavin. Cassian and Vel get a moment to eulogize pretty much everyone we've lost.
Yeah.
Nemec and Marva and I mean everybody. They toast
Everyone
everybody.
at Aldhani. I mean,
Aldhani,
they,
Gorman.
everyone.
And Vel has been tasked by Mon to figure out what it is. Clea told Cassian, what are we up against? Because the Rebel Council is they're frustratingly skeptical about Luthen and about was he already compromised? Because the last time you saw him alive was it a year prior? So
But I mean, you understand their trepidation because I mean,
Sure.
Like I think everybody is recognizing how fragile everything is.
Well, and they're dealing
but
with
especially the rebellion.
They're dealing with Saw as well, so it's like we have
who's
these
a
extremists.
insane loose cannon.
So it's like what's real and what's part of this.
Which I'm glad you brought up Saw, because we do get kind of an alternative take of Mon speaking with Saw, and we see it in Rebels, but they changed the location on the base and kind of truncated a little bit. But you see the clashing ideologies, and Saw is nuts.
Yeah,
Saw is, I mean, he's
certifiable.
certifiably nuts.
He's insane.
And Mon's like, we know where you are, and he's like, no, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't. It's like, no, we literally know where
we
you
do. We know where you are.
literally. And,
Oh, babe, let me sit you down.
no, we know.
Oh,
We know.
Gosh.
But no, you're right in that they are justifiably paranoid about who's told who what.
And with how fragile everything is too at the moment, it's like we don't. What
it
are we
can come
supposed
unglued
to? Yeah.
in a moment.
And it's it's a game of telephone too at that point. And but Vel's conversation with Cassian, I felt was like a really touching and really fitting way to memorialize everybody, and considering how skeptical Vel was of Cassian at the very beginning, and how angry she was at Luthen for bringing him on. And
Yeah, right.
For them to be the survivors of Aldhani and everything that came after.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get I think a really sweet moment between Vel and Clea when Clea walks out into the rain, and they've butt heads, and Vel has been so angry at Luthen and Clea for keeping Cinta away from her,
Right?
And for making Vel sacrifice far more than I think she wanted to.
Yeah.
So there was a nice bit of forgiveness there. Who else am I missing?
Well, then we have that moment with Cassian and the Force healer that you brought up earlier.
Yes, we have
that happens kind of all in this sequence.
We have this. Well, he has his meeting with Bail Organa, and I love that K2SO is. He's like, the man you do not like is here. Waking up humans is so confusing.
It's so great. So great.
And you kind of get another moment of I don't know, I'd say a moment of understanding where Cassian tells Bail, you and Luthen would have liked each other a lot more than you realize.
Yeah.
Because Bail talks about, like, if I'm going to die, I want to die swinging.
Totally.
So he kind of gives him his blessing to
Go for
forth
it.
and do greatness. And but yes, then to what you were alluding to, Alyssa, we get this long walk, which feels like a processional. And he connects or sees all of these people from the last 5 years.
The chess pieces.
Yeah. And it's kicked off with it chokes me up even thinking about it. That sequence kicks off with Cassian hearing his sister's voice.
Yeah.
And you realize that after everything, he never found her.
He never found her.
And never
I know
will.
we even sort of thought, like, last season, like, when we talked about this show, like, if that was going to be it was never even once that wasn't even, it was never even on the forefront of his mind. He's like, we never saw him like searching for his sister. I really thought that was going to be a thing, and I'm kind of glad that it wasn't, because it really, it's
but that it's a sad
part of what he sacrificed.
But it's a sad reality. It's like sometimes you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to find her, and and you have to think that, like, she, whether it's her or Bix or his mom, all of these people, really the women in his life. That's at the core of every sacrifice he makes, and ultimately the final one. And but then you have this walk, and it cuts to various other characters, and we see Perrin, Mon's ex-husband, with Skulden's wife.
Yeah.
Just
What a twist.
drinking in the back of a cab.
Just-
Woo!
What a pathetic
Sleep
and
drunk.
sad end for Perrin, just a life of regret. And
Yeah, what a bummer.
and
I'm sure his kid is super stoked though.
yeah, well, we never see the goodbye with
Them.
Mon and her daughter. It's like,
yeah.
think about
No,
everything.
she's literally put on that freighter and gone.
Yeah, and think about what Mon has sacrificed. I mean, she
Right. Her family, her entire life
All of
as
it.
it was. Yeah. Her whole life. And her hair, apparently.
yes, and her hair in this moment,
Right here. It's gone.
and her heterosexuality with it.
Apparently.
You became a lesbian. 'cause you got your hair.
That's what happens when you go to Yavin. And then there's a shot of Deidre in a very familiar looking prison.
Yeah, it might have been the most I think sad end for a character in the show.
and like, you deserve that.
Yeah,
and
same.
Go to hell.
But damn.
there's Tony Gilroy going, but you feel a little sad.
But
You
you feel bad for that
because
character. You do.
she was used. And
Yeah.
She
She
was. She was another cog in the machine.
Yeah.
And Tony Gilroy did say this isn't the same prison. This isn't Narkina
Okay.
5, but this is like a women's version of
Got it.
Narkina
Got it.
5. So if that does
Same
anything for you.
outfit. Same
Yeah,
prison.
they're
prison
making
garb.
something else for the Death Star, but just something more gentle.
And I was thinking about that moment too, and Luthen had said to her, "You're afraid of freedom," and then she ends up in
prison.
absolute captivity, which is where she's been this whole time. Her whole life has been starting in an Imperial Kinderblock
Yeah.
to a a Narkina 5 alternative, and yikes.
The metaphorical prison to a legit one.
I did in my head, my prediction for her was she was going to be stationed in a desk job on the Death Star. That's what I thought was going to happen.
That would also be great.
But this is.
But there was something so poetic about
This is so much.
that.
Oh,
more
yeah.
pathetic.
You know what I mean?
so
That full
excellent.
circle moment with this show in particular.
She'll live out her days.
And then we see Mon and Vel like sipping calf, and I think it's the first time we see Mon kind of content
Yeah.
in
yeah.
a good little while.
Mhm.
That she's found purpose and she's found a home, and then what you alluded to, Alyssa, he shares a glance with the Force healer, and
Mhm. Oh my God! We almost missed a huge deal that frickin' Bale says, "May the Force be with you" to him, which
Yeah.
is like,
yeah,
that was huge.
and yeah, just that glance, and that woman knows he's off to his death,
Uh-huh.
and I think he might too. Not the specifics, but this whole procession, it felt like a funeral march.
Yeah, a little, yeah. The slow march to death. Yeah.
And I think him nodding to her is an acknowledgement that
I know.
I'm about to have to do something
Mm-hmm.
big.
I love you. I know. No.
Yeah.
You're gonna die. I know.
It's like, and they literally fly off to the Ring of Kafrene, which is literally
That's
the
where we
first
pick it up.
time where we pick up Cassian and
Oh, we do get Bix holding a baby.
Oh
yes,
yeah.
well, yes, we're getting to
Big effing deal.
Well,
Oh, that was
more
that was the
importantly-
last shot, technically, right?
yeah, no, it was that. No, it
yeah,
was the last.
that
shot.
was the last shot.
And more importantly, B2 is safe and happy and
Yeah, his little
roaming
droid.
around with his little droid friend.
I giggled.
That was really
I
sweet.
I literally giggled when
was
I
like,
saw
thank
him.
God.
I know.
But yeah, then we see Bix holding a baby in this cornfield or a crop field, staring off into a horizon in a shot that is framed exactly like the shot Cassian and Jin are staring at the giant incoming explosion.
Yeah.
And it is framed exactly the same way. And she's contently looking off into the distance. And
who knows, maybe that was the exact moment that it happened. They were like, it was like a flash forward or something.
but
Which I guess it kind of I think it has to be, right? Because if the baby is born, because she wasn't.
No, because it's been
We've skipped ahead. We've
skipped a year. So
at first I was like, I'm not sure if that's even his baby, to be honest, because
that's my point. Because
she leaves a year before all of this happened. So
right. Well,
yeah, it was a full year.
So
They did a full
9
year
months.
jump.
Yeah.
They did a full year jump in the last episode.
Yeah, you're right. So right. And
So
if
it's
we're
happening in
assuming
real
this is like a newborn baby, which it looked like.
Oh no, that was a
pretty-
big baby, but I wasn't really gonna go that far into the details.
But I think
that was a 2-year-old. But we're not gonna fight about it.
But I think the point is that this is probably happening around the same time, and that the sadness is that she's holding out hope that
he's gonna eventually be able to come be with them.
And I didn't mention it when he was speaking to Vel, but she says, as far as I know, she's safe, and that's what I hear, and you should reconnect with her and don't wait too long. And I just die inside.
That's heartbreaking.
So effing sad. But it is the ray of hope at the end, that there is life beyond death,
and Bix found true peace.
She did.
True.
Yeah. And she had that community. I mean, she loved that community even before they had left for Coruscant. That was I imagine that was where she went back to. And
or wherever the hell Luthen would send them. And her life has just been so rough.
Yeah.
And
to just have peace and
but even
and that
but
child
even that
is Rey.
Oh my god. No, we already know that story.
I don't know my parents.
Star Wars is
they go
about
back and wreck on
Skywalkers and
it. It's
Palpatines.
Cassian and Vix. Oh jeez.
Well, everyone said that. No, that's Poe Dameron. That.
Oh gosh.
Oh, sure.
It's like, why? Because he's a Latino.
Yeah.
You're racist.
Yes.
God, guys.
Exactly right. Sure, I'll take
Poe's
it.
Poe's parents are established in a comic, so no, that is not his parents.
So no, you idiot.
Shucks.
But even in this peaceful moment, you're just like, they're never going to see each other again.
No.
Duh.
But she's alive. Everyone is alive.
And her
because
sacrifice,
of him.
Yeah. And her sacrifice in letting him go, again, another one of those linchpin moments that if it doesn't happen, the rest doesn't happen.
Yep.
Everyone played their part, and so ended Andor.
Wow.
And so
ended
Andor. They really did it.
The greatest piece of writing in Star Wars history.
Oh,
easily the
without
best
fail.
writing for sure.
I don't know if and when it will happen, but if Tony Gilroy is ever interested in returning to a galaxy far, far away,
man.
we will be so richer for it.
Open arms, open. Yeah,
give him a trilogy, please. Give him a full trilogy.
I don't think
he says
he
he's
wants
done.
that. No,
Yeah,
well, for now, he did say for now, but I think.
Oh, did he say for now? He kind of it felt very final, at least in his.
It felt final in the sense that.
He's like, I've spent 9 years in Star Wars land. He's like, I'm
I've
good.
done enough for the. I think he said I've done enough for the moment, and I don't. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would take on a trilogy necessarily, but
maybe if there was a story to tell that he was passionate about, yeah.
But what I've noticed with all of his interviews, Tony Gilroy has kind of made a career on being a script doctor, and he's often the closer on productions, meaning he comes in and makes them good.
Oh my God! Please come in and make things good.
But no,
Please.
but my point being is that he's now kind of in the spotlight with this show because it was
Yeah.
it was his creation and not him fixing someone else's.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think he's really just how he's been talking to YouTubers and fans, and I think he's just kind of blown away by
the response.
how it was received. And I think it's a fair bet that somewhere down the road, in a one-off,
They
we
might
could
be
get
able
him
to
back,
convince him.
and
Yeah.
and
I think
we will be
so.
so lucky if that's the case.
But
Give
if
him
the
something
only
in the
thing,
sequel.
if for some reason the only thing that was like his was Andor, I'm grateful that we had it.
Gosh,
Yeah, me
I
too.
mean,
Yeah, it's in my opinion, it's everything that's good about Star Wars all in one thing.
and just add it on too.
Yeah.
You know.
and
Yeah.
and it's I think its best quality, besides everything you just said, was the fact it makes all the other Star Wars better,
Yeah. Right.
and that
It does.
and I think I've seen online discourse. You just have to be careful because it's such a small subsection of fandom, but you now have people kind of broken off into Tony Gilroy land and Dave Filoni land, and never the two shall meet. And one is for adults, and one is for children, and one is smart, and one is stupid. And it's like, oh, you're missing it. You're missing the point of all of
You're
this.
missing it.
like
You cannot have one without the other.
Yes.
I think that's what we've
That's right.
learned is that
I think that this is what this show is it showed me is something that I didn't know that I needed from Star Wars. I love that we have this. I as a Star Wars community, like I feel like most of us probably don't deserve how good this show was.
no, the way they Tony Gilroy even said he was talking about Kathleen Kennedy, and he said, I pushed the boundaries with her at every turn. And meaning, like he said, I'd go to her, it's like, I want to do this in this show. And she said, fine. I want to do this in this show.
Yeah.
Fine. And he said, it does not get made without
Except
her.
for Fuck the Empire, sad. That was probably the only thing that Kathleen Kennedy...
I'm okay with that.
It's fine.
But, I mean, you did have Bail Organa saying, tear the shit out of this place.
Yeah, he did.
But he mentions, he said, for all the shit Kathleen Kennedy gets online, she greenlit every single thing I asked for,
which is awesome.
And it really puts into perspective Kathleen Kennedy's tenure at Lucasfilm, which it sounds like might be winding down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a gripe with how a certain product ended up, maybe you're pointing it in the wrong direction.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a sense of trust there too, because I imagine she's very aware of the caliber of which Tony Gilroy creates, and just is like, I trust you implicitly. Go forth. You may fire when ready.
But this idea, and I don't want to dwell on this any longer. I think this idea that
it's only been 2 hours.
Disney has
all three people are definitely still listening to this.
The idea that Disney has ruined Star Wars, but you think Andor is maybe some of the best Star Wars. I mean, you can't have it both.
You can't have one without the other.
Kathleen Kennedy didn't kill Star Wars.
No,
maybe some of the flavors aren't your favorite, but my God, like it was all worth it to have a show like
absolutely
Andor.
Yeah, pretty thrilled.
Yeah, which never could have. I mean, 12 episodes. Like, are you kidding?
Yeah, 24 total. I mean,
it blows my mind to think
full movies.
Oh, like,
hello.
It
blows my mind to think that we were like potentially supposed to get numerous seasons of this.
5.
Yeah, which
2 was enough.
Yeah. It was enough. It was enough.
And I know it's enough because I felt this wonderful. It's a contradiction, but this wonderful emptiness when it ended of like, please.
Yeah. It was so good. I'm sad it's over.
But that's how you know.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I want it.
Let it
how you
end.
want to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then watching this, I cannot wait to watch this again in conjunction with Rogue One and A New Hope. And now you really, from the start of Andor season 1 to the end of A New Hope, there's a trilogy right there of
Yeah.
we call it the trilogy of rebellion. I mean, it's
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have the Skywalker saga, but then you have, the rebellion, and
Mm-hmm.
wow, 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 wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow,
Big
wow,
wow. Yeah, I would give it a out of 5 tauntauns, like 4.9 tauntauns.
Alyssa.
I'm gonna give it 5. I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I'll give it a 6.5 tauntauns out of 5.
Yeah. I mean, truly, I only do it in 4.9 because like nothing is perfect,
No, and
but it was grand.
nothing is perfect, but I'll
pretty
give
darn
this
near close.
tauntaun a second tauntaun to mate with.
Especially
Perfect.
Partner
Sure.
tauntaun.
Perfect. All right.
All right.
Well, we hope you liked Andor as much as we obviously did.
Yeah, if you stayed to the end of this episode, you must have loved Andor as much as us, because yeah, wow.
Yeah. What a treat.
What a treat.
All right. This is Inside the Tauntaun. I'm Alyssa Simmons.
And I'm Daniel Dawson.
And I'm Dino DeCandros.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast. Please like and subscribe.